Is it possible that we are now live? Are we getting a thumbs up? We're live? All right, cool. We are live. Wow, guys. Welcome. I am Michael from Bedell Property Management. We've got Vince Solangineer in the house. Good evening to you, Vince. Welcome to the September edition of what it is we are trying to do here, the post-2023 Echo Media Summit edition of what it is we are trying to do, and obviously the pre-Equip Exposition edition of what it is we're trying to do here. Hope you guys are having a better Monday fun day than I am. It's been interesting. Lots going on, but that is how fall goes. Am I right? Trying to tie up all the loose ends as we transition from season to prep for another season for those of us who do snow and ice management. So bunch of fun stuff to talk about tonight. Got a couple guests who you can see on the screen, and then one that may magically appear later on because he's coaching soccer, rather, which obviously is vitally important to society in general. Got to have those youth soccer coaches out there. But hoping Scott can break away here and join us. But before we have everybody introduce themselves and jump into tonight, I referenced we got Equip Exposition coming up and just want to remind everybody that we have the Echo Means Business Social Media Lounge. As we've had in years past, it's a great spot to come and hang out throughout the show. Obviously, going to be plenty of user advisory group members there throughout, and friends from Echo and other people that you probably know from the industry. But great spot to just come and relax for a few, charge your phone, maybe get some better internet signal, because I know it's a little hit and miss, partly because the place is huge, partly because there's so many of us in a small place, and cell phone signal works in ways we don't always understand, but most of those times that's when it's not coming through to our phone and we need it. So anyway, want to reach out, let you guys know that that is going on, and then furthermore, ask that you join us on Wednesday at 3 p.m. for our happy hour. We're going to have beer. We're going to have beer. That's right. I said it again. We're going to have beer, and we're going to have giveaways too, but we'll also be giving away the beer. It will be free for you to consume. That makes everybody happy. I hear there may even be a DJ. I hear he will not be playing any Cardi B per Phil Leger's request if he makes it from Canada. Very important that there will not be any Cardi B, but there will be lots of other music this DJ will be playing, and that is very important to all of us. And then we want you to join us again on Thursday, because we've got a social media seminar led by our buddy Henry, very knowledgeable guy. I hear we may have some free lunch, perhaps, so while supplies last. So if you don't get the free lunch, please do not direct your anger towards me or anyone you see on this call or anyone that has a Echo logo, because they are saintly people and it is not their fault that you did not get free lunch. However, you should try and join us, and then ultimately at 3 p.m., we may be doing one of these live if the technology allows. I think there's probably a 90 delta that happens, which I would make that bet. So I would say you join us. It's going to be a great time. It'll be going on the entire time. Those are just kind of the highlights. Be here to heard it here first. You'll see it a lot more on social media, and you'll probably even see me smiling and talking about it somewhere on the internet soon. But anyway, on to the most important part and the reason you are all here. Obviously, last week was the Echo 2023 Media Summit. Excellent time. You probably have FOMO. You saw it on social media, and you were bummed that you cannot be with us there in Chicago, and rightfully so. It was an excellent time. However, we're here to bring you some of the fun, some of the highlights, and some of the best of. So enough of me talking. Let's introduce two people that are far more important than I'm myself. Let's start with the guy from Echo, who everyone's just waiting to hear from. Please tell us about yourself, and then we'll introduce the other guy who everybody already knows.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Jason Wilk. I'm a senior product manager for Echo. So I'm coming up on 17 years of employment at Echo. Actually spent my entire working career in the power equipment industry. So a total of about 24 years in the industry, 17 of those at Echo. started at Echo, kind of coming up through the tech side of things, warranty diagnostics and technical training, and moved into a product management role, which I've been doing now for about 6 years. So I'm directly responsible for the blower category, handheld backpack. That does include both technologies and gas and battery, and then also some of our wheeled goods like our pressure washers and generator lineup. So super excited to be here with everyone.
And we are so excited to have you, man. Thank you so much for joining us. If you've ever wondered, one of the people who really makes the things spin behind the scenes, it's Jason. He's the man. And then JC, why don't you tell everybody who you are for the few that don't know how excellent you are?
What's going on, everybody? I'm JC. Been here a few times before, part of the Echo Means Business User Advisory Group for the last 3 years. And I'm owner-operator of a part-time lawn mowing business in Massachusetts, Lawn Squad Mowing. So I'm looking forward to today's topic. It was such an awesome week this week.
Cool. Well, before I share my best of, because I got told before the call, I get to go first. And that never happens. But you guys are really number one. So just want to say hey to everyone. We got Mark Thomas. Hey to you. We've got Tino. Always good to see you. Melanie, friend of the show. Always excellent to have her here. Tino says, but will there be beer? There will be beer, and you should come and tell all your friends. Like Ricky, who is also joining us tonight. We have confirmation from Melanie that Phil is scheduled to come, so that's great. Definitely confirms there will be no Cardi B, but I think we will survive as, Cardi B's kind of okay, but Echo product, that's where it's at, and that's what we're really excited about. So we got the Jar sisters here. Hello to you. Vince is eager for free lunch. I am too. Who would it be? Tino says, I get the final say on who gets lunch. Very debatable on that, but better odds that you get lunch than I'm in charge. I'll say that. Ooh, Stanley's got a question we'll circle back to. In fact, some of these are starting to be product related. So let's get into the products and then we'll circle back to some of these. So because I get to go first, let me click back and see what do we have here before I continue on. All right. So my favorite takeaways, just want to make sure there was nothing I was missing before we jumped in. I really was excited about this battery stuff and the robotics stuff. I'm a kind of a nerdy guy. I'm kind of a tech guy. Maybe not as much as I wish I was. I feel like I used to be more, but a few years ago, Echo is kind enough to let me try out the battery-powered top handle chainsaw that they came out with. And I've really enjoyed it. It's very easy to use, especially in the right situations, and reduces a lot of fatigue. But one of the things I just noticed is that there's almost like a little tremble to that older saw. And it turns out that came from the chain that was on there. So it's my understanding, and I'll ask Jason to elaborate because he'll say it in a much more eloquent and understandable way than I ever could. But they've made some modifications to that, and getting to try it, I was very pleased. It was like all the good things that existed in the saw before, and then adding the few other things that could have made it better. So, Jason, please tell us more, because I'm sure everyone's excited.
Yeah, so we actually are probably one of the first OEMs to use, I think everyone's aware, we don't make our own bars and chains for chainsaws, right? We use Oregon or Blount as the parent company, and they completely redesigned this chain, they said, from the chassis up, right? It was really designed for, for battery-powered products. One of the things with battery-powered products is, once you start forcing the saw to cut a little bit, you really start pulling a ton of power out of that battery. And that's probably about the number one thing that will affect your runtime, right? So they wanted a chain that would just naturally cut very fast, cut very smooth, so that the user wasn't inclined to actually kind of put more weight and pressure on it. So it's a whole new chain geometry. It's an 80 TXL type of what they call nano chain. Just a great engineering accomplishment from the team over at Oregon. Super smooth cutting. I actually spent quite a bit of time cutting with that type of chain on a telescoping pole pruner over the weekend. And I mean, it's just like a hot knife through butter. It's really nice. And like you said, it does kind of eliminate that chatter that you're experiencing kind of the first go round of the 25 Hunter top handled saw, and it's just super smooth. And then also allows you to keep the power up, keep the chain speed up, gives you faster cuts, and it's not going to drain your power out of your battery as quickly as a conventional type of chain.
Yep. I'm a big fan of whenever somebody can take something that I already love and figure out how to just like make it 5% better, which is obviously way hard to do. It's that last couple percent that everyone's always striving for, right? So yeah, kudos to you guys. I highly encourage you to check that one out. Jason, is that going to be at the demo area at Equip most likely?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be out there running all the chainsaws. We'll have, our big saws, small saws, plenty of wood out there to cut. So yeah, and we'll actually do side-by-side comparisons too. So if you want to see, at that $10 increase at retail for the nano type of chain, what that gets you, you can put them side by side, and then you could be the judge which one you think cuts better for you.
Yeah, I love that. That's certainly one of the best parts of the show is that you can actually try out what you've heard and seen and find out, is it going to be the best fit for you and your operation before you obviously pull the trigger and put that on the 2024 wish list, which you should. And then, I'll drive through the last two so we can let JC hop into his stuff because they kind of are headed in the somewhat similar direction. Is obviously if you're making the dive into battery powered anything, you obviously, one of the, at least where we stand today, one of the perceived pain points of that is just the speed of recharging anything, whether it's your phone or the power equipment we use or Brian Fullerton's Tesla, any of those items, they just don't charge as fast as we all wish they did. But they've come out with a rapid charger and a dual port rapid charger at that. So Jason, you can give us the rundown on that, but that really was exciting to me because anytime we can speed that process up,
sure.
That sounds like a win to me.
Yeah, so it's a whole new charger technology. It's a dual port, so obviously it charges your batteries twice as fast than having to wait for one charger to complete before you swap them out, right? But what it allows you to do is actually drastically get the charge time down from a standard rapid charger when you're using a single battery to get your charging time even quicker. So we literally cut that charging time in half. So if you look at the charger itself, we now have 3 chargers. So we have the new dual port charger. So it's actually a maximum of a 10 amp output. The rapid charger was a 4 amp output, and then the standard charger is a 2 amp. So you can tell, just by the amount of amps that this thing is cranking out, you're gonna be able to charge the batteries a lot faster. And we did that obviously give faster recharge times on that 5 amp hour battery, but I'm sure we'll get to a little bit later too, as we increase our battery lineup and we come out with new batteries with larger cells and more capacity, we need to be able to charge those even faster than our standard and our rapid charger could. And that's really what that charger was developed for. And since we developed this charger from the ground up, we were able to kind of design it to however we wanted it. So we did incorporate some USB A and C ports on the front of the device. So if you do have an outlet tied up, you're charging batteries, you need to charge a tablet or your phone, you just actually plug those right into the front of the charger and not tie up another outlet. So really big advances in how fast you can charge the new 8 amp and then also the existing 5 amp hour battery.
And you mentioned the outlets there. That's a huge advantage for me. I know those kind of are a premium these days. And yeah, with all these devices, the fact that you can charge the phone and the batteries for the equipment, that seems like a big winner for me. And then, like I mentioned, kind of on this improvement of technology path, you guys have made some improvements with the WiseNav technology for the robotics division. And being that I've done this long enough that I've realized we really have to adapt to the future. Like I probably, technology's starting to change faster than I can keep up with. And that means that it's probably going to happen in a lot of facets in my life. And I'm convinced that maybe before I get out of this industry, there'll really be a lot more robotics than there is now. And what I think will drive that is the fact that labor doesn't really seem to be a problem that can be solved readily. There's little incremental things that people can do, but at this point, I think, at least in my market, we've hit the threshold of way too much work, and just I don't think there will ever be enough people to do it unless that work really recedes back. And so, whether it's the drive-through at McDonald's or us in our business, I know just the McDonald's down the way, if you go inside, there's hardly anybody to take your order. You're just doing it all on a big touch screen now. And I think that, you go into some of the big box stores and the floor cleaning, it's all battery, or not only battery power, but it's all robotic. And, so it's out there, and it's only a matter of time before it ends up kind of all over the place. And so we can adopt it and become part of it, or we can be replaced by it, right? And so to see that that's something that's still evolving, I thought that was great, because I literally saw a thing and I went, there's me in the future. That thing is going to do all the things that I'm doing. It's just going to take a little while to get there. But Jason, tell us about the wonders of the robotics and how that's continuing to advance.
Yeah, the robots, I started dealing with the robots probably back in 2015, kind of when it was first coming its way over from Echo Robotics in Europe over the United States, and we've gone through perimeter wires, kind of setting, the robot to where, that wire is what dictated if it stayed on your property, you went driving down the road, right? So seeing technology advance, not only with GPS guided type of satellites, to striping, right? I mean, that was the thing. It was like the vacuum cleaners, right? They're just random. They would kind of go all over, and yeah, they would do a fantastic job. They would look good, but people always wanted those stripes, right? And people are willing to pay for stripes. So them being able to come up with that RTK type of technology, to where you can get nice stripes of the robot. I mean, it just continues to advance, and Lord only knows where it's going to stop. But I could just see a one piece of equipment that does your aerating, your dethatching, your lawn, your, sensing weeds, and, applying herbicides and planting grass seed on bare spots. I mean, I think it literally in the future, it could just do everything in a one-stop type of machine piece of equipment. But it's nice to see it kind of grow throughout the years. And that's just the latest technology that the Echo Robotics team has been developing here in Europe and the United States.
Yep, I think you put it best. I think that it'll go from just mowing to the whole horticultural practice. Mm-hmm. It'll keep doing more and more, just because the need will be there. And in reality, I think it may be able to do it in some cases more accurately, just really from the fatigue standpoint. We're all only so good as we are when we're like, fully with it. And, you mentioned, Jason, you were doing some pruning over the weekend. Mm-hmm. As that goes on, the arms feel it a little bit more. Am I right?
Yeah. I woke up this morning. I'm like, what's going on with my shoulder? I'm like, oh yeah, I was from holding that pole pruner for a couple of hours straight. Right? Yeah. It definitely does not get easier as you get older. That's for sure.
It's funny how too, like, it takes like a minute, like, to click, like, man, I'm really sore. Yeah. What happened? Oh, yeah, right.
It's like, no, that can't be from trimming a few trees, but yeah, that's exactly what it is.
They'll get us. Cool. Well, we'll dive into the chat here, and then we'll queue up JC to share his favorites. So let's see. We got Stanley. Okay, we'll go with the launch engineers. What CFM output and speed does the new DPB 5800T put out? All right, well, we'll jump into that.
So DPB 5800T CFM, the top spec is 795 CFM at 195 miles per hour. That is on the turbo button feature on, which that equates to about 25 newtons of blow force.
Awesome. All right. Stanley wanted to know when the PB 7910T is coming out.
PB 7910T, those are actually being built as we speak out in Japan. So by the time they come across the water and get down to the dealers, they should start being available at dealers around December, January timeframe.
Perfect. I know I'm excited for it. Something else I'm excited for is Jill Stewart wants to know when the ski bike will be available. Any ideas on that? I didn't see it on the 21 products, but in any case, we're just going to slide that one in there under the radar.
No, it's one of my favorite products. I've been trying to, pitch the idea of bringing it back with, battery technology, maybe one day, but it's not on the horizon anytime soon.
Well, there we go. I think that's how we convince everybody. Just put that new battery technology in it, and maybe it could be like somehow even self-charging if you run it fast enough.
Right.
I think that's great. All right, Mark's got a question for Jason. Can you talk more about the new 4-stroke engine in the PB 5810? Is it mixed fuel, and will we be seeing more of this type of engine? Tell us more.
Yeah, great question. So I think everyone's probably aware that, Echo's always been a manufacturer of 2-stroke engines, right? That's what we do. We started making 2-stroke engines back in 1955. Well, around 2007, actually, Echo acquired one of their competitors, which is Shindaiwa, right? So I think everyone knows Shindaiwa and Echo are now, one company. It's formed under the Yamabico group. But one of the engine technologies that Shindaiwa actually had some patents on is they originally called it like a C4 H4 hybrid type of engine. And this was their attempt of making an engine to run super, super clean to meet the emissions, right? And when they launched this engine, they were just kind of plagued with technical issues. I mean, you basically took a 2-stroke engine that had 3 moving parts, and now you have this mini 4-stroke that now has 18 or 20 moving parts, right? At about the same RPM. If all those parts aren't flawless and something lets loose, right, it's catastrophic engine failure. So what we did is when we bought Shindaiwa, our engines were clean enough to meet all the emission standards, and they still are today. But we didn't bury that engine technology. We knew it had its place. There's some inherent advantages to it, but it needed to be redesigned. And that's what the engine builders at Yamabico did, was basically take that Shindaiwa design, kind of pull it out of the archives, started re-engineering it, looking how can we make it more bulletproof, how can we make it more powerful, but still get to that very clean, emissions that engine it provides. So the technical name of that engine is a mixed lubricated 4-stroke engine. That's what it's technically called. It's a new 59.7 cc displacement. It's basically a ground-up redesign of the Shindaiwa H4 C4 engines, completely redesigned by the Echo engineers over in Japan. And with this engine, since you have little valves that are basically controlling your fuel and oil mixture into the engine and your exhaust out, you don't have any raw gas or fuel that can sneak its way out the exhaust and raise emissions. So it's a super clean burning engine, but also what it does is it provides a very wide torque band. So you get, 2-strokes have a very small power band, very specific RPM range, this engine gives us such a wide range. We could bigger fans on it, bigger engine housings on it, and run it at a slightly slower RPM to get a tremendous amount of volume, bring the sound down a little bit. It's super clean. You don't have to do anything different with your fuel. It's the same 50-to-1 2-stroke oil mix that you run in all your Echo 2-stroke engines or your steel 2-strokes. It's the same type of fuel. But also what we can do is, since we have an intake valve, we can do some things with decompression valves. 2-stroke engines for your average homeowner, sometimes they're hard to start, right? You're fighting that compression of the engine. Well, now that we have valves and we can do decompression valves, we can actually, during the starting speeds, kind of hang up that intake valve, let some of that compression out during starting speeds. Once that engine fires, then it goes back to normal valve timing. You develop full engine compression. So if you've noticed, when you tried to pull start that engine, I mean, it was just like super smooth, right? So this unit was really developed with the homeowner in mind. Super easy to pull over and start. So 44% less starting effort than an equivalent PB580. Increased power over the PB580 because it's got a larger power band on it. Increased blowing performance. And it's a little bit quieter because it doesn't have that 2-stroke exhaust pop to it, right? It's more of a mellow 4-stroke. So quieter, smoother, easy to start, great power. It's lighter than the 580. We're going to keep the 580 in the lineup just because that unit's been around for so long. It kind of has a cult following to it. And then we'll just let the market kind of shift. So I think eventually the 5810 will probably replace the 580. But in the meantime, it'll be an addition to the Echo lineup, and we'll be offering them both. But yeah, completely redesigned engine, still running 50-to-1 mix. You can still use any of your favorite two-stroke oil in there. It just has some inherent starting advantages and sound and power advantages. As far as seeing it in additional applications, possibly. On products that are geared more towards that homeowner because of that easy starting, I think absolutely. On the commercial side of things, like on a 4-stroke engine, eventually you're going to need some valve adjustments, right? The valve lashes are going to open up. So when you start hitting about 300-400 hours of operation, right, you're going to start seeing some RPM drop. So we don't want a commercial user to have to go in there and adjust the valves every 300 hours because you don't have to do that with a 2-stroke. For a homeowner, 300 hours may be a lifetime worth of usage, right? So I think you'll see it continue in some of the homeowner applications, but the preferred engine technology for commercial landscaper is still your conventional 2-stroke engine.
See, aren't you guys glad we brought Jason on? I never would have said it like that. I would have just been like, it's betterer. Awesome. Well, those are great questions in the chat. JC, let's hear from you, man. You've just been sitting there smiling because I've been babbling on. I want to hear all about the great time you had and what your takeaways are.
It's so much to take in. Like I said, it was such an awesome week last week, getting to see all these new products. And I think Jason's going to be proud of me because I did a little bit of homework in regards to my favorite product, which I'll start off with because I think it's been one of the products that was unveiled last week that a lot of people were drawing attention to. At least I know most of us were. And it was the DPB 5800T, the battery powered leaf blower. And I got a chance to try it. Obviously, we were all there getting a feel for it, but I wanted to know how it compared to something that I already have. Now, I compared some of the specs, very minimal as far as what it has. So we'll talk about the DPB 5800T. Like Jason said, 195 miles per hour, 795 CFM, and 25 newtons. Compared to the PB 580T or the 580H, whichever one you have, that's going to be 216 miles per hour compared to the 195 miles per hour on the battery backpack blower. The PB 580T has 500 CFM, whereas the DPB 5800T has 795 CFM. And then comparing that with the PB 580T that has 22 newtons, the DPB 5800T has 25 newtons. And correct me if I made any mistakes there, Jason, but
nope, you got it.
I had those written down. But getting a feel for it, right? I'm big on the leaf blowers because I live in Massachusetts. I do a lot of leaf cleanups. The New England leaves, everybody gets leaves, but New England leaves in particular are very wet, very heavy. They accumulate very quickly. And you need that power, right? You need, at least for me. So running the 90-10 and the 80-10 that I have, those are essential to doing any of the leaf cleanups that I'm doing. But nonetheless, getting a chance to try that out this week, it felt great. I definitely felt that the battery had enough power to do some of the tasks that I needed to get done over here. As far as the features, I love the control panel on the trigger, and how you could interchange each battery. And Jason was explaining to us last week, as far as how you could interchange the different types of batteries. If you have the 5 amp or the new 8 amp, or using 2 batteries as opposed to all 3 bays. I really like that because if you have different types of batteries for other tools, and let's say you run out, you could always just grab one of those batteries and utilize that for that sake. The design was awesome. I love the roll cage feature that kind of protects the batteries in the case where someone that is going to be on the go or just kind of taking things off their truck back and forth, you have that protection. There's always kind of been that misconception that or conception of thinking that battery powered products are more particularly fragile. But I could tell you just by the feel of it, my personal feel on it, it's definitely built with quality. And I definitely see that something that a lot of people are probably going to be wanting to get their hands on during the expo. Jason, anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're spot on with the specs. With the one thing I always like to talk about is because, like you said, the CFM miles per hour spread's pretty different, right? Like in the PB580, you're at 500 CFM. On the new battery DPB 5800T, you're at 795. And really what that comes down to is the differences in the fan technology. So on the PB580, that's a centrifugal type of force, centrifugal type of fan. On the DPB 5800T, it's an axial type of fan. So the way they operate's different, the amount of load it takes to operate's different. But really what it comes down to is the amount of work coming on the end of that tube is really what we rate in newtons, right? So we did label the 5800T and give everyone kind of a little background on where we come up with our model numbers. I'll step back a little bit. As everyone knows, Echo's engines, Echo's modern model numbering system. So we tried to reference that on the new battery wherever possible. So we knew that when we were developing this blower is going to be in that 22 to 25 Newton range. So he said that's about what a 58cc two-stroke backpack blower cranks out, right? So we said, all right, we know, we always say D is for battery, but D is for direct current, right? So it's a battery-powered PB power blower. And then we knew it was going to be in that 58cc two-stroke equivalent. So that's where that 5800 came from. So even though the mixture of miles per hour and CFM are different, we got to 25 newtons coming out of the end of the tube. Those that have been running PB580s, it's going to be very similar in performance. If you've been running at 9010 at 48 newtons, you're definitely going to feel it doesn't have quite the amount of power as a 770 or 9010. But absolutely, you're spot on with all the specs. As far as probably one of the biggest frustrations when we were developing this unit, I'm sure everyone probably knows by now, Echo actually invented the world's first backpack blower like in 1975. So when we started seeing battery backpack blowers hit the market, they're like, dude, what's going on? Like, you literally invented the category and Echo doesn't have a battery backpack blower. And we're like, if we're going to do something, we got to do it right. We can't just throw something out the door and say, yeah, we have a Me Too product, right? So we spent time out in the field, working with homeowners, collecting information from commercial landscapers. And, these fans take a lot of power to produce the fan, right? To spin that motor. And the biggest thing was run times on a single battery. So we saw some single battery configurations out there. 2 battery was about as big as you're going to get. So what can we develop that will give us the maximum runtime? That's why we developed the 3 battery port. It's currently the industry's only 3-port battery backpack blower. And then, when you have 3 batteries hanging out the back, you start upgrading to 8 amp hour batteries. Those are $350 a piece. You wanted to protect those things. So we actually went back and kind of dug out of our design archives. When I first started at Echo back in 1999, we used to have these full roll cages, like on all our backpack blowers, like the PV60HT and 46HT. We basically took those design files out and kind of partially recreated that to protect those batteries hanging off the back there. And it's nice to finally, several years of work, development, getting this unit out in your hands and getting positive feedback. I mean, it just gives me the goosebumps. It's awesome. So I'm glad. I'm super excited how many people, just all the great feedback I got on it.
Yeah, I one thing I really liked about it too is knowing that you're going to have something on your back when you're doing these jobs. The weight distribution of it, the feeling that I had, it was nice. Like it's not something that I feel that long term it's going to be daunting. The PB9010 is a huge backpack blower. Right. Over time, you're gonna feel that effects, like we were talking about pruning and your shoulder getting all jacked right. up. But moving on, there was so many things. It's hard to pick a few. I love them all, but the ones that kind of shined a little more to me, and the second choice that I had was the DHCS 2800. That's the 28-inch hedge trimmer. Right. And I'm not a hedge trimmer guy. I don't have, not because I dislike it, but it actually in my area, there's not a lot of work where I'm at where people need that hedge trimming services. So my main duties are just mowing the lawn, edging, trimming, leaf cleanups, and that's it. But because I I don't have experience too much with it. I wanted to get my hands on it and see what it's all about. And I'll tell you, the balance on that hedge trimmer, that's the first thing I noticed, and getting to go on the Echo properties and just go mayhem on all their bush, your bushes and property and stuff. That's probably one of the most fun things. Aside of that, it was something that I again, long term, I don't think I'm going to feel that effects on as far as fatigue. And it was just the perfect balance. The single edge I liked because you could scoop up the trimmings to one area. And one of the biggest things I liked was the ability to switch the handle, the grip, changing that. So as you go along, you're not in any awkward positions. All you have to do is just press the lever, turn it, and then you're holding the hedge trimmer in a lot more comfortable fashion. So I really, really love that.
Yeah, those are phenomenal units. I mean, those are 100% designed in Japan. Really just started with kind of mimicking performance as our gas units. And that's one of the interesting things that with all this battery powered equipment is there's actually a computer chip in there, right? And we can go in there and we can program this thing to do whatever we want it to do. So we already have really strong market share in all handheld hedge clippers. We have some of the lightest, most powerful units on the market. So we know what makes a really good hedge clipper. We know what that power curve is. We know what that blade speed is because we do it every day on the gas side. We basically plot that data, go in there and develop this computer chip, programmed it to mimic, to accelerate like gas, deaccelerate like gas, have the same blade speeds as gas. And that's really what was developed in those new Pro 56-volt hedge clippers. The other thing too is, I mean, if there's ever been a poster child for battery powered equipment, it's hedge clippers. Your load or power demands out of that battery is so light because it's just the blades kind of moving back and forth, right? So you get unbelievably long run times with that small battery. They're lightweight. You don't have the noise. Some hedges are prone to the browning if you use a gas powered hedge trimmer with the exhaust gas kind of pouring on them. I think if there's any product that could easily overtake gas product, it'd be that hedge clipper lineup. And it's I appreciate all the comments on it. The engineering team spent a lot of time getting that programming just right. And as soon as you just put them in your hand, you're like, wow, these are impressive.
Yeah, and it's perfect for someone like me that doesn't have a lot of those jobs because it's not something that I have to worry about keeping fuel inside the unit. I actually have a pair of hedge trimmers that it's a battery powered. It's another brand. I don't utilize it much, but because it's a battery pack, whenever I need it, I grab it and I'm good. So that's definitely something that I am going to be considering in the future to have alongside my fleet is a nice hedge trimmer, and that's probably one of the most perfect ones for me because of that shorter blade, which is 28 inches. I'm looking into chats, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I did do some homework on that backpack blower, but I didn't do all my homework, so I don't know the weight on that exact trimmer. Maybe Jason could shed light on that a little bit. I don't know.
The single-sided you're saying, right? The single-sided 28-inch. I have those specs right here. The weight with the battery is 8.5 pounds.
Yeah. So very light. At least my my feeling of it was very light. And then lastly, talking about batteries, Jason, you already brought one up. The new 8-amp battery. Having that is clutch, and I think that's going to be something that's going to be very, very useful going forward with the whole dynamics of battery powered products.
Yeah, so the new 8-amp hour battery, it's using a little bit different cell technology. We call them 21700 cells. These cells were originally developed back, and I think in about 2014, it was a joint venture between Tesla and Panasonic. They developed this, a little bit larger cell that just basically gave you 60% more capacity. So it's kind of interesting to see, the automotive industry leading this new battery technology and have it trickle down to something I can put in a, $199 string trimmer, right? So the 8-amp hour battery, it's exactly that. It's 8-amp hour capacity at our 56 volts. So it does give you about 60% more capacity than a 5 amp hour battery without 60% increase in size, right? So it's definitely bigger than the 5 amp hour battery. I don't have the exact percentage. I can get that, but it gives you 60% extra capacity using these new 21700 cells. Probably not something you want to put in a hedge clipper, right? Because it'll probably give you 4 hours of runtime. But in high load applications or applications where you just need a lot of runtime, the backpack blower, perfect candidate, right? You're doing a string trimming job, maybe around an industrial park, and you don't want to go halfway and then have to stop and go back and get another battery, right? And then also it's going to open up the door, and I don't want to let too many cats out of the bag here, but other bigger equipment that requires more power draw, right? We now have a larger watt hour capacity, basically power bank that hooking 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you need in series can power some pretty impressive sized equipment. I'll leave it as that.
Yeah, I saw, if I just want to shed light to one of the comments in the chat here, Alex Carey asked, JC, could you talk about the constant power on the battery, how it runs full throttle until it's empty? That's a good point, because, it doesn't vary in power of like constant and then going lower, up and down. It's going to run up until that very, very last point where there's no more power left in that battery, where it'll shut off. So like you're getting that constant speed, unless, for example, the backpack blower, where you're going from the turbo mode or the more increased production mode, where you're drawing more energy, I would think. But when it comes to like the hedge clippers, you're still getting, if I'm not mistaken, you're still getting that same constant draw and power of energy throughout the entire process.
Correct. Yeah. So we have patented technology called max out technology. You'll see that like on the top panel chainsaw and other pro products. It's on the new pro hedge clippers, both double-sided and single-sided. And as I was talking about earlier, as far as these tools having a computer chip in there, we can program and we can make these tools do whatever we want, right? Echo has kind of came to a fork in the road and said, we can do one of two things. We can program our battery chips to provide light gas performance from the start of the battery charge to the end, right? Or we can just kind of let that power slowly fade over time. And the advantages of kind of both is, obviously, if we let that power just fade over time, our runtime on paper is going to look really impressive. And that's one of the things that we get is, hey, your trimmer runs 54 minutes. There's another brand out there, brand X, it's the same battery voltage, same battery capacity, and they're claiming 90 minutes runtime. It's like, well, yeah, if we program that to let the trimmer head start off at 7,700 RPM and fade to 7,000 and 68 and 63, and just kept going and going and going, by the time you get towards the end of that battery charge, you're going to find yourself not being able to walk as fast. You'll be going over that same area back and forth because your trimmer head speed has dropped. So it's like, how productive are you really being? So we decided that, yeah, we will take the shorter runtime, but just like a gas unit, if you pick up a string trimmer, it's got a quarter tank, half tank, full tank, you start that thing up, it's got full power, right, until you're out of it. And we wanted, again, to program our battery products to act like the gas-powered products. So wherever you're at in that battery voltage, it's going to provide full power. And that computer chip's constantly monitoring that power output. As soon as it can achieve that power output, it turns the tool off and says, I'm done. Now, the way we actually do this is kind of interesting. So with any type of battery, if you start off at 56 volts and you start consuming power, your voltage is going to drop. There's no way to avoid that, right? But what we can do is start to increase the amount of amps that we're asking that battery to produce. So as voltage comes down, amp starts going up, and it provides this constant power output until it can't anymore. And that's what we call max out technology. Now, on the kind of more the mid-range or the homeowner focus, like DSRM 2100, that's not a commercially used unit. We did not put max out technology in it. For a homeowner, they just want to make sure that it's comparable with other brands and get longer run times. But for the pro focus units, we wanted to mimic and perform just like a gas counterpart. And that's what that max out technology does. It's amazing to think that this industry has come to, computers within your chainsaw, but that's where we're at today. And that's basically the premise behind max out technology.
Awesome. See, wasn't this so great when I stopped talking and the smart people started? I was laughing at one point because I'm just like, man, you guys are perfect. You're just feeding each other facts, and JC, who did all this research, I was just like, I like the product. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, we're gonna try and land the plane here. I know Scott was real excited about the PB 7910. The 2600H power pruner, and the DHCA 2600 articulating hedge trim. I don't know if you just want to dive through those real quick, Jason, and then we'll land the plane and get everybody out of here so they can have a little Monday.
Yeah. So between the pole pruners and the articulating hedge clipper, you'll see that if you look from the power head down, it's exactly the same as our gas counterparts, right? It's the exact same drive shaft, same handles, same everything, gear case, blades. We didn't redesign all those components just to accommodate a battery type of power head. We actually did the reverse. We actually developed our power head to bolt onto all our gas counterparts. So if you're familiar with how the tool holds and balances and how to sharpen the blades or what type of maintenance to do, or if you have a whole, boneyard of different blades and gear case and you're stealing parts, from this unit to that unit, it's all interchangeable. It's all gas. It's all proven technology. It's stuff that we've been making for decades, right? We're not hitting the street with a new gear case, a new drive system and hoping, right, that it holds up. So that's probably the biggest thing. It's the adoption from gas to battery, and whatever the user wants, we have both. And you could jump back and forth between the two and not have to relearn the habits of that product. Between us programming the computer chips, the mimic gas, using gas components, it's a very easy transfer back and forth. You start to develop almost like a muscle memory over time when you use this product as much as pro landscapers do. And it just allows easy transition and conversion between the two technologies.
Well said. I think that muscle memory part should really resonate with all of us that spend a lot of time out in the field. And I will agree, that's something I definitely noticed getting the privilege to come out and try all of these is the battery stuff is right there with the gas stuff in so many ways versus right. I think back just a decade ago, it was really a concept that was just starting to come together. And I think, might not even take another decade, and it's, who knows, the saying might be anything gas can do, battery can do better even. You never know, because, then we're not breathing in those fumes or, right. Especially if you're in California, it can cause cancer. Nowhere else, but it says in California. I don't know. That's why I don't travel much, right? So, well, thank you so much to Jason for joining us. It's such a pleasure to have you on. And if you guys have any more questions for Jason, shoot Echo Means Business a DM, and we can forward those along. And Jason's always happy to take the time, and maybe we'll be able to even do something fun and get him on here in the future. Maybe pop by for a quip or something like that. It's always great to spend the time. So thank you so much to JC and Jason, and good luck to Scott. He was coaching soccer, didn't make it on, so I don't know if maybe that means they're losing, right? Need the extra help out there. So I'm Michael from Bedell Property Management. Thank you so much from the three of us, and we will see you live from Equip Exposition at the Echo Means Business Social Media Lounge in just a few weeks. So have a great night. Be safe. Be good to each other, and we will see you on the next one.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
See ya.